The strongest man who ever lived was brought down not by an army, not by a weapon, but by a whisper in his ear and a secret he should never have told. This is the story of Samson, a man given supernatural strength by God, and the woman who discovered the one thing that could take it all away. Stay with me. This story doesn't end the way you might expect. Before Samson was even born, an angel appeared to his mother, promising a son unlike any other, a Nazarite, set apart for God from birth, who would begin to deliver Israel from the oppression of the Philistines. There was one condition, one sacred vow he would carry his entire life. No razor was ever to touch his head. His uncut hair was the visible sign of a promise between Samson and God, and as long as he honored it, extraordinary strength would remain with him. Samson grew into a man of astonishing, God-given power. He tore apart a full-grown lion with his bare hands as if it were nothing. He single-handedly defeated entire groups of Philistine soldiers who had oppressed his people for years. He carried the massive gates of a city on his shoulders and walked them to the top of a hill, simply to prove they could not trap him. Israel's enemies feared him like no other man alive, but Samson's greatest weakness was never his body, it was his heart. Samson fell in love with a Philistine woman named Delilah, and the leaders of the Philistines saw their opportunity. They came to her with an offer impossible to refuse, a fortune in silver if she could discover the secret of his strength and deliver him into their hands. Delilah agreed. Night after night, she pressed Samson to reveal his secret, and night after night, he gave her false answers. Bind me with fresh bowstrings, tie me with new ropes, weave my hair into a loom. Each time she tested his answer, and each time he broke free with ease. Delilah did not give up. Day after day she nagged him, pleaded with him, told him his silence proved he didn't truly love her. The Bible tells us that Samson's soul was vexed to death by her constant pressure. Finally, worn down, exhausted, and blinded by love for a woman who had already sold him out, Samson told her the truth. No razor has ever touched my head, for I have been a Nazarite to God from my mother's womb. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me, and I would become as weak as any other man. Delilah knew immediately this was the truth. She sent word to the Philistine leaders, and that night, as Samson slept in her lap, she called for a man to shave off the 7 locks of his hair. His strength silently left him, though he did not yet know it. When she cried out, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you," he woke and rose as he always had, confident, ready to break free as he'd done 100 times before. But this time was different. This time, the Lord had departed from him, and Samson did not know it. The Philistines seized him easily, gouged out his eyes, and bound him in bronze chains. The man who once tore apart lions was now blind, powerless, and forced to grind grain like an ox in a Philistine prison. It was the lowest, darkest moment of his life, betrayed by the woman he loved, abandoned by the strength he had always taken for granted, mocked by the very enemies he had humiliated for years. But in the darkness of that prison, something the Philistines never noticed was quietly happening. Samson's hair had begun slowly to grow back. The Philistine leaders gathered thousands in the temple of their god Dagon, celebrating their victory over Samson, mocking the God of Israel who had supposedly abandoned his champion. They brought Samson out to entertain the crowd, positioning him between the 2 central pillars that held up the entire structure. Standing there, blind and humiliated before thousands of jeering enemies, Samson prayed a final desperate prayer. "Lord God, remember me, I pray, and strengthen me, I pray, only this once, that I may be avenged on the Philistines for my 2 eyes." Samson placed his hands on the 2 central pillars, and with strength that had fully returned, he pushed with everything he had. "Let me die with the Philistines," he cried out. The pillars gave way, and the entire temple collapsed, killing Samson along with thousands of Philistines gathered inside. More enemies defeated in his death than in all the years of his life combined. His final act was not one of vengeance alone, but of a broken, humbled man finally surrendering himself entirely into God's hands, one last time. Samson's story is a warning and a hope tangled together. It shows how quickly extraordinary gifts can be wasted through compromise, pride, and the slow erosion of small, repeated choices. But it also shows that God's mercy doesn't end where our failures do. Even after betrayal, even after blindness, even in the lowest prison of Samson's own making, God was still listening, still willing to answer one final humble prayer. Maybe you've compromised something sacred, worn down by pressure until you gave away what should have stayed protected. Samson's story reminds us that surrender to God is never too late, even in our darkest, most broken moment. If this story reminded you that God's mercy reaches even our darkest failures, subscribe to Stone and Sling and join us as we bring these ancient stories to life, one video at a time. Which story should we tell next? Let us know in the comments below.